Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be taking a look into a winter storm that'll be going on across the northeastern United States, but we're going to be talking about that very shortly at first. But then we got transitioned over to severe weather again. We got a couple of days to watch for severe weather across the Southern Plains into the Tennessee and the lower Ohio valleys. And let's go ahead and get started actually with the winter side of things that's going on right now. We got some snow going on across northeastern Missouri, portions of Iowa, central Illinois, and eventually getting into Indiana. And this is 1 o'clock for the Euro. If we move on to the NAM, kind of similar scenario here. But as we move it to 9 o'clock, that wave pushes northeast. And it's like, hey, Chicago may be able to see some snow. And this is probably going to be their last time getting snow. If we move on to 4 o'clock, you got some heavy snow in those higher elevations across New York State. This system will be moving fairly quickly. And as you can see here, by Tuesday, it's already moved off. And this is the system we're going to watch here. We'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But here's your snowfall maps here. Especially those higher elevations, you can see quite a bit of snow with this snow system. Um, Move on to the European model. It's a little bit aggressive, about 20 inches or so. I think that's a little too aggressive there. But the GFS shows not much of anything really. Maybe about 7 or 8 inches of snow. But like I said, we're going to be talking about that. It's going to be very short talking about the winter storm side of things because it's not that serious. What's a little bit more serious is the severe weather because it's more life threatening. Let's move on to the Storm Prediction Center. And this is today here. We got a marginal risk across the central west coast of California. And I know you guys are quarantined at this point, so you still got to watch the weather, though, instead of coronavirus. You know, weather can be a little bit more important than the coronavirus. The immediate threat's really damaging winds, and that's about it. At least there's the tornado threat for the central west coast of California. However, things start to change. This is day 2, which is tomorrow, which they're about to update this in the time of making this video about 30 minutes. So they'll probably change this a little bit. We have a slight risk for severe weather across most of Oklahoma, south central Kansas, and a very northern tip of Texas, which includes Wichita Falls. The main threats will be there'll be a tornado threat there. There's a 5%. I do not expect this to get upgraded to enhanced risk because there is some factors into this for this risk. Like there's some capping in place. There's also some sign in place. So those couple of factors could prevent storms from developing that much. So I think this could be a little bit more isolated to a scatter event. However, that low level jet, the 500 millbar winds, will help with the severe thunderstorm threat there. But again, there is a chance for perhaps a supercell or two, especially in Oklahoma. Day 3, which is Tuesday now, this is the day we really need to keep an eye on things here. We got a slight risk for severe storms across northern Mississippi, the northwest tip of Alabama, central and western Tennessee, and even south central and western Kentucky there, with a marginal risk surrounding those areas there. The main threats are all on the table. Damage of winds, receive a tornado threat, and even for some hail. And there could be something they call if I could find it in here, yeah, QLCS tornadoes will be possible, and they're mainly focused on that in potentially in central and Kentucky and central Tennessee. So this slight risk might push a little bit to the north, maybe to the I-64 corridor, which so we guys in these areas will know where the I-64 is. Kind of goes from St. Louis to Louisville, and that's probably where that slight risk may go. And there's probably potential for a enhanced risk, more than likely across Tennessee, Kentucky. That's the area I'm really focused on. And here you go. Here's my forecast here. And as you can see here on day 2, which is Monday, or you can say tomorrow, I have a slight risk for severe storms for most of Oklahoma into portions of Texas. Main threats, damage winds, large hail. The tornado threat's a little lower, I think. Um, some supercells may produce a tornado. I think it's going to be a lower end threat for for tomorrow. But however, tomorrow the tornado threat does increase, and the other risk, damage winds, large hail, does stay the same. But I do see potential for an enhanced risk upgrade, which Davies for damage to wins, and I do see a tornado threat getting upgraded to 10%, and damage to wins may get upgraded to 30%, but I think large hail will maintain 15% at this point, but things could still change. This is day 3, so the SPC will update their forecast tonight. And meanwhile, on day 2, which is tomorrow, they'll update in exactly 30 minutes at the time of making this video. So let's look at a couple of things here. So we're going to go over, well, let me show you guys the severe weather ingredients checklist. So this is for day 2 and 3. Basically, all the ingredients are here for day 2 and day 3. But the difference between these 2 days, day 2, there's more of a cap going on. Meanwhile, day 3, there's actually not a cap at all. Some areas may see a slight cap. Probably better chance of that might be more into Tennessee, or northern Mississippi, perhaps. I haven't really checked forecast soundings down there yet, but and there's also a little bit less sign in. There's a little bit sign in associated on day 3, but there's more sign in on day 2. So there's some differences here. So there are some factors that can limit the severe weather potential, which is good news. Now, let's take a look into the GFS with the Supercell composite here using this website here. And as you can see here, your Supercell composite's a little bit higher. I think it backed off a little bit, showing the 6 across west central Oklahoma. You got a nice 500 millibar jet that'll be coming in with about 40 to 50 knots. So that's going to help with the severe weather potential. And this is what I'm talking about here. Even though you have a pretty good setup for tornadoes or uh, what else here? It's some of the other threats as well, like supercells. Look at this matrix capping. So there's definitely going to be no storms developing in this area just by looking from the GFS. That's a cap. When that red line overruns the yellow dotted line, that's a cap. That's a warm air aloft, and that's going to prevent storms to develop. It does increase a little bit more as it reaches to eastern Oklahoma, and I think the capping is starting to come loose, and that's why I say an enhanced risk is probably not going to happen. There's a very little capping here, but that's probably not enough capping for thunderstorms to develop. And this photograph here, yeah, looks pretty good for a tornado threat. So, and keep in mind, this is Tuesday already, and this system here will be pushing eastward very quickly. This is going to be a very progressive system here. So this thing here will be moving very quickly. The next 6 hours, your ingredients are starting to get together across Tennessee and Alabama. And a few more hours later, some of those ingredients are in the severe weather area that we're kind of focused on. Now look into Surface Space Cape, but it's also the time where we be more focused on high-res models than medium-range models here, which the NAM and the NAM 3KM is ready to go with this here. And you can see here, Surface Space Cape looks pretty good, over 1,000, which is good enough for some severe storms. Now let's move on to something very interesting here, and this is the NAM 3KM. Let's first take a look into the well, suppose you guys want to see the tornado parameters, not like the lap rates, whatever. The lap rates look pretty good for both days, especially for Tuesday, which is day 3. Um, it looks pretty good. We'll we'll take a look into that in a moment. But here's your Supercell composite here. So this is Monday evening. It's kind of off the screen here. But as you kind of move on, it starts to catch up. And here it comes onto the screen here. And this is when the system here really starts to move. So your low pressure system, I guessing at this point, will be in central Missouri. Eventually push into southern Illinois into central Indiana. This is not a good thing here. We have a low pressure system pretty close. That's going to increase some of the wind shear and some of the helicity. It's going to really increase the threat of a more rotating atmosphere here. And here's your supercell composite here. You actually got some pockets of 13, it's not that bad. It's a little bit further south, but eventually, as you get more to overnight hours, it starts to reach the I-64 corridor, which is right here, where I have the slight risk. And the NAM goes a little bit further out, which we'll take a look at that. But let's take a look into a couple of forecast soundings here. And I found this a little interesting here. It's not here, but somewhere else. But oh wow, the affected layer is actually pretty high. So Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, you're going to have to keep an eye on this here, which I believe Nashville, Tennessee is probably in this county right here. So I might be a little off, but really got to keep an eye on this here because you remember the last time. Last time we have a setup similar to this here. We had a slight risk for severe storms, and guess what? A strong tornado went right through Nashville, Tennessee. It was also a long track. And this is kind of similar setup. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen again, but the potential is there though for tornadoes around the Nashville area, and they're not the only ones as well. You got to go further north too, as well for some better tornado potential here. So we really need to keep an eye on this here. And let's take a look at some lap rates here. This here also increases severe weather potential. It even includes the hail threat as well. And this is kind of Monday here. It's off the screen here, but this is right now Monday night. And look at this. Look at all these mid-level lap rates. You need over 7 degrees Celsius here. And yeah, we got plenty of that there in place. But as it pushes eastward here, with time, you got pockets of mid-level lap rates with temperatures 7.5 degrees Celsius. My bad. And that's pretty good for some thunderstorm development and also as well as for some large hail. You can see some of these little pockets in here as well. So that's really going to help storms develop and also create somewhat of a large hail threat. And let's take a look into the energy helicity index here. And some of you guys probably saw this on Twitter already, but I found a bingo spot, which some storm chasers would call it like the bingo spot on a forecast sounding, which I'll show you guys that in a moment. So your energy helicity index here, it's kind of a little high here. You're showing it like a 2.2. There's even a 2.3, which will get this forecast sounding here. Let's see if it loads. Here, I found this before I even created this video. And bam, there you go. You got PDS tornado signature coming from the hodograph here. Now, these things are not that accurate, so do not take this as, well, what I'm trying to say here is this is not going to happen here for this area here, but it is possible. If you look into the effects later, STP, if a tornado does happen in this area, there's a high chance it will be EF0, EF1, EF2, medium chance it will be EF3, so now keep in mind, this is the only model that shows this indication, and we're starting to get some more and more models to come in, like the RAP model or the Rapid Refresh model, and the HRRR model as well will start to come in. We'll look into those models tomorrow here, but right now we have the NAM family coming in, so we're starting to get a better idea of what could happen here, and that's how we really need to keep an eye on. We'll take a look into some bulk shear here. Now you need over 40 knots really for for severe weather. It includes the tornado threat as well, and And as you can see here, we got plenty of that. You need, like I said, over 40 knots. So basically in the purple areas there, that's where you have will be pretty good for some rotating thunderstorms. And oh man, look at that. Nearing 110 knots in. Looks like that's around Elizabethtown, Kentucky, which I know these areas here kind of pretty well, so I know what those areas are. So that's a lot, and that's kind of earlier in the afternoon, but we don't really see much storms earlier in the afternoon. Here comes your storms developing here, kind of going through the atmosphere here. We need to watch this line here because the Storm Prediction Center here, like I said, is talking about QLCS, which it means a lot of storms that has rotating cells associated with it. And you can see here the cyclone has been expanded eastward across much of Middle Tennessee and Central Kentucky. There, we might get to see that push a little bit more northeastward. But let's take a look into a different model, which is the NAM here. We'll take a look into the composite reflectivity. I haven't really looked into this yet, but all I do know is as the warm front passes here, it's going to be pretty windy later in the afternoon. We're looking at winds maybe pushing 40 to 45 gusts, and I think that was looking from the European model. And so we kind of continue on here. Here comes your system here, this low pressure system. At this point, so the models are showing this low pressure system may deepen to a little under or around 1,000 millibars, which is not good. So this is Tuesday afternoon. You got some scattered showers and thunderstorms in the area. And then they start to become a little widespread here, especially when they kind of get into central Kentucky. Now, it's not that high res, which I forgot to see the from the NAM 3KM. It's future radar. I also kind of forgot. This will give us a better look of what could happen here. So be weather aware with this here. So here comes your warm front. And look at this here, 21Z, you got a few cells here. You got a few cells here that might become supercellular there. And yeah, supercellular potential storms. So here comes your squall line developing here. It's not a good sign here. So you got supercell potential storms here across south, especially in south central Kentucky. You got other cells developing across southwestern Kentucky. You also got a squall line developing. It's not really looking good of a setup here, especially when this is going to be happening overnight for a lot of people. So really need to keep an eye on this here. And this is what the SPC's been talking about. This squall line here, this Q, I keep on forgetting. I need to write this down, but the QLCS here. That's what this thing here is right here. Next you see here may have some rotation for some of these cells here, so we really need to keep an eye on that. But the name's not that high risk, but it doesn't really show a squall line there developing. Sort of something like that there. That might be your line there coming through. But let's take a look into some other things here like the supercell composite, the significant tornado parameters, stuff like that. That's what you guys want to see here. Now the supercell composite is pretty much a surface-based cape with wind shear or bulk shear. It's basically there is, and I believe there's something else with it as well, but I cannot quite remember. But as you can see here, you got some pretty good values. You got 9 in Central Tennessee. We'll take a look to forecast sounding. It looks pretty good here. And the effective later, so there's probability there could be a chance of a EF3 if a tornado does occur in that area. So the star tornado threat looks to be going up just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's not that significant at this point. But looking into some of these SQTs, that looks pretty good. Here you got the moisture in place, 64 dew points, 67 degrees. So it's a pretty good atmosphere. Almost exited that off. And it does decrease, but it does hold itself together, especially across central Kentucky here. You got three. It's not going to be as good. The tornado threat's pretty much over with, but the severe weather threat is still there for some strong to severe thunderstorms. We'll go into Tennessee. Looks a little bit better. And so yeah, overall we really need to keep an eye on this here, and there's going to be plenty of instability as well. So we'll probably see an enhanced risk get issued here for Tuesday. I'll say the best chance for severe weather will be across uh, Kentucky and Tennessee will be the states to really keep an eye on. But I think we'll have an update on this probably tomorrow if anything major changes do occur. And again, your mid-level lap rates look pretty good for large hail potential. It's really going to help those storms build up overnight as well. But anyways, guys, this is all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the severe weather update. If you guys did like this update, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you're never miss an upload. If you all guys got questions about this, you can put a comment section down below. I will answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.